Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Dutchman's Wood Shack. Thought I'd do a little chainsaw 101. My background in this has been for a number of years, probably at least 40 some odd. I don't date that, but anyway, first learned how to use a chainsaw when I was with the Forest Service. So I have many hours involved in learning how to use a chainsaw, different types of chainsaws, how to maintain them, and so forth. Now, when I worked for a fire crew, you kind of had to learn all kinds of stuff. Well, one of the basic techniques is you do sharpening your chain while you're out in the field. That's a little bit different thing I'll show later on, but I wanted to show you basic safety stuff. For one, this is a 32-inch Husqvarna chainsaw. It's a 2-cycle. I use this for gas. It's a lot easier because you have to mix gas. Since it's 2-cycle, you have to mix it. It's a lot easier on your motor if you buy the pre-made stuff. It works like a charm. You don't have to worry about an extra can for mixing stuff and going to the store and all that. You could just buy this. And I'm not just selling it. I used to be anti this with the Steel Corporation, but it actually comes in better than more handier than the other stuff. It's a little bit more expensive. The other thing is oil for your chainsaw for the bar, and you know you have to always carry some of this. If you're out in the field, you should carry all of this stuff. Okay, so now this is what 2-cycle mix looks like, by the way. And I don't use it because I have other stuff. I'm trying to get away from it if I can. If it's already pre-mixed in a can, I don't need it. So let's get started. So what I usually tell people when you get a chainsaw is read the manual top to bottom, go over it again, make sure you familiarize yourself with what it your chainsaw. Can't even talk today. Guess I didn't have enough coffee. You know? Anyway, this one here is pretty easy to work on. Now, this thing here I got is called a scrunch. You know why I call it a scrunch? Look at it. It's a chainsaw. It's a screwdriver on one, and it's also a socket or a wrench. Scrunch. I don't know. Anyway, that's what it was. It's always been named that. And there's a couple reasons why you always want to keep this with you. And I'll show you in a minute. This one here has got a locking chain system on it. So when it's down like this, it's locked. You can't move it. When it's up, you can move it. One thing I can tell people right now is this: when you go to start it, you got to make sure that you have chains on. The chain should have a little play on it. It shouldn't have more than 1/8 of an inch, about like that, see? So that you don't want it too tight. What happens is if it's tight, you'll start wearing your bar out. There's a groove in the bar. I have another chainsaw. This is the oldest one. It's a 1979 Homelite. I got to finish putting it back together. I cleaned it up. There wasn't anything wrong with it, but it was filthy. I just decided to do something with it, and I didn't put it back. Anyway, this is what the bar looks like. All right, there's a little star-shaped thing here. You never want to use an air hose on this because it'll wear the bearings in this out, and then you might as well toss it. But that groove right there, it doesn't take much to wear it out. Now this is 1979. All right, look at it. All right. See it? It's not worn out. Not even close. Now the reason I say that is the chain has a little groove, a little nut band there, and it rides in this groove. If you get to the point where it's side to side too much, then you'll never get a straight cut. It'll start cutting at an angle. So you always want to take care of this thing. You want to make it so it if you take care of this the right way, this will always take care of you. Instead of you having to work with it, it'll work for you. So, okay. So now when you get one like this, okay, for instance, here's two things I'm going to tell you. It's got a gas bulb here. It's got, this one's oil for the bar, and this one's gas. That's what this is for. You can open and close it. You always want to make sure that it isn't so much a gas, but this, of course you can't run it unless you have gas in there. Hello. But this bar is being fed by the oil that's in here. Okay, so you always want to make, this is critical, you always want to make sure that you're getting oil to this chain. And the way to do it is you can take it out of what I usually do is I tell people take it out on some place where you can take and run it, start it up, and like a concrete slab or something, take a look at it, or a piece of wood. I would highly recommend using a piece of wood. But you put it on the ground, you take the chainsaw, you start it up, and you aim that bar down towards the ground and see if you're getting any kind of spray off of it. You also can wipe it off with a paper towel to see if you're getting any dirt off of it or any oil off of it. If you're not getting anything, stop, take a look at it, take the bar off, take the motor and check it and see if you're getting enough. There's an adjustment on this where you can adjust it to actually get a better amount of oil on it. So I'm still trying to adjust it to the right amount. You don't want too much where it's leaking all over your box, because it will leak. All right. Now, in order to adjust this is what you got to do. Now, I'm not going to mess with this now. I'll do that later another time when I go to put it to bed for the year. But this and this, that's what that scrunch is for. Now, in order to adjust this, you have to, and this, by the way, is a spark plug hole. I meant to tell you that. You take your spark plug out with the bigger one. Okay, that's an adjustment screw for your bar. What you want to do when you go to adjust it is, usually what I do is I stand here like this, I lift up on it. These two bolts, or the nuts, are loose. You take this, you just want to make these two snug enough to where you can, the bar will stay on, but it won't move very, very easily. You take this and you screw this in or out, tells you depending, more likely you want to go out with it, and then you get the setting you want on that. Now, it's hard for me to explain it, so it's best that you do it a couple of times, get familiar with this before you even start using it. In the end game, again, you want this to be at least maximum is about 1/8 of an inch when you get pulled down like that. Any more, what happens is you loose, again, your chain's too loose, it could come off on you, and this could ruin the bar here if you rock it back and forth. Now this has got a compression release on it, so usually when you're done running it, it'll pop off. Then what you want to do, before you get to start it, you want to push that down, this type anyway, and the choke is on this side. You pull the choke out, you pull this is the stop switch. If you pull the choke out and the stop switch is down, you don't want that. You want to put it like that. There you go. Pump the gas bubble 3 times or so, and you're good to go. It should start within the first or second pull. Now, sharpening. Couple of things. Different kinds of rat tail files. Here's what I call them. Okay, see, there's 3 different sizes, right? Well, what you want, ideally, is your rat tail file to fit right in there and not have any play at all. You want it to fit snug, because the grooves that are in this chain, all right, the grooves that are in this chain is set there in a way. It's at an angle. And the one thing I tell people is, when you sharpen this, make sure that you do all the teeth the same way. 3 strokes, 3 strokes, 3 strokes, so forth. Also, it makes a difference in how you handle your file. Now, I've got a couple of devices that I use, but you know, the common one that everybody uses is this. So what I could do is, what I normally do is I push out like that. 1, 2, 3, like that. Now I'll do that. Every other one is facing the same direction. Then you turn it around the other way, it's facing the other direction. So you've got a tooth that's going this way, you got a tooth that's going that way. Just make sure you do all of them. When I start, I usually try to find where the link is, the master link in here in the chain, and start from there and work around. Shouldn't take you but 20 minutes. And if you're on the same rhythm, like I said, 3 strokes in each one. Try not to move your hand, because it's an easy thing to do like this. So when you're stroking it, make sure you go like this. Make sure you go like this. Smooth as a baby's butt is the way it should be. All right. That is probably the easiest I can show you on a chainsaw before I run it. There's other things, safety tips, read the manual. Now I have a book here that tells me different techniques on how to do it, safety wise. Now there's a picture of a guy here on the front. All right, that's that thing he's cutting, the way he's cutting it. You know, notice how you cut a little 1/4 inch here, and then you cut another. It's like he's cutting a pie. Well, that's basically a bird's mouth. When you cut a tree down, you go to the other side. What'll happen is, all right, the tree should fall this way, where that bird's mouth is. It's a safety thing. You never want to cut it where it's straight across unless you have wedges to wedge it off. A lot of guys will do this. If you watch them, they'll go into the backside and they'll cut just a little bit higher, so there's a little bit of a chair there. And the reason is kickback. It's kickback. This thing will kick back on you if you're not careful. There's pros and cons about how to use a chainsaw. You never want to get into here if you don't have to. You know, you can use, a lot of guys you'll see do it, abuse it. Now this one here, this older one, has a tip. It has a bracket that goes on the tip here, and it basically won't let you use anything from this part to this part, which it's a safety factor thing. But this is professional, like anything else out there. You got to use your toy. This is an expensive, very dangerous, I wouldn't call it a toy, piece of equipment. It's like anything else you buy. And you got to make sure that you follow up on it. If you've never done it before, make sure you get somebody or read up on it, how to use a chainsaw. If you're really only going to use one for one time, I wouldn't even bother going out and get one. I would probably go out and have somebody do it. But it's a safety factor. There's a lot of other things involved in what you're going to do that make it a difference. Okay, if you do buy one, having the knowledge behind you, like books like this, helps. Okay, so safety factor. Helmet with ear protection and face. The reason you have this is the chain comes off, it'll keep it from going to your face, hopefully. Eye protection too, by the way, because you still can get chips in there. Gloves. Heavy leather gloves. Now this is the kind of gloves you want. It's thick. You don't want to use mechanic gloves. Why? Because there's nothing there. It's like just the skin. It's like a plastic